So you've set the goals and you've built the plan for your future self. But let me ask you something. Who's protecting the person that actually has to do the work? Yes, I'm talking about the person who's putting in the hours, showing up, failing, and yet trying again. This version of you. And as much as you want to become your future self, this might actually be the very thing that's standing in your way.
What did you say?
And unless you build a system to keep this person intact long enough, reaching your goals will always feel like a battle that you're barely surviving. Because let's be honest, failing your goals doesn't happen in one dramatic big breakdown. You lose your goals because of the 100 moments of self-neglect. And that's why we're going to talk about 4 core areas that you have to protect so that no matter what life or your self-sabotaging way throws at you, you keep going. We're covering the final step of the enough planning method, the one that makes your goal setting plan not just effective, but also enduring. You can have all the drive in the world, but if you don't have boundaries around when, where, or how that energy gets used up, you'll end up feeling drained, distracted, because you have no direction. That's why the first thing you have to protect is the power source that fuels everything else. Without boundaries and grounding practices around your energy, everything will eventually break down. Because if your body and mind can't keep up, you'll start mistaking exhaustion for failure. And that's what most people get wrong. They'll tell you just need to be more motivated, more disciplined, but when in reality, what you actually need is better energy management. Your energy powers your action and your willpower, but this is limited. And yet, we are often our own worst energy sappers. We say yes to everything, we skip rest, we ignore what our body is telling us. We will literally burn through tomorrow's energy just to survive today. And that's how our goals and our plans die. That's why if you look within my goals, one of them is to establish my non-negotiable commitments. These are grounding practices that protects my energy because I know that this isn't optional. By protecting my current self-energy and taking care of my most basic needs, I lessen the chance of acting on impulse or giving up when things get hard. And these might seem small, but this is what sustainability looks like in practice. Because in the context of goal achievement, it's never about how fast you can achieve that goal, but it's about how long can you stay in the motion without losing yourself. Once your energy is protected, the next thing that demands your protection is probably the most violated core area, your time. I've had friends tell me, I can't plan or schedule my life because it's too rigid. But structure isn't about restriction. It's actually freedom. Without structure, we'll always be reacting to whatever life throws at us. So, setting time boundaries simply means you give each task its own slot of time, and that time is dedicated to that specific task. And you don't let that task bleed beyond its boundary. Now, I'll be honest, this takes time and practice to master, especially if you're like me who leans towards perfectionism. And personally, I'm still in the process of mastering this. So that's why I thought it would be actually really cool for future episodes to test time boundaries in real time to see which ones actually work. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But there's one thing I know for sure. Setting time boundary is not about control, but rather it's about creating a structure that protects my goal from my present self's distraction and weaknesses as I guide her towards becoming more resilient. Now, there's another determining factor that will dictate whether you stay in the game or not, and that's your ability to regulate your emotion. You see, everyone talks about consistency, but consistency depends on your capacity to hold the discomfort that comes with growth. Because when it comes to pursuing goals, you will face frustration, boredom, doubt, and uncertainty. And if you don't have emotional boundaries, you'll abandon all the amazing plans we've made in the previous episodes the moment it stops feeling good. But if you master this, you will have willpower that literally renews itself. And just like with time, emotions don't need to be controlled, but it does need to be contained. So this means you need to allow space for your emotions to move through you so that it doesn't hijack your mission. And in my experience, there are 2 powerful rituals that I do daily to help me in this area. For one, I always regulate my nervous system before the day even begins. And I will always tap into this whenever things feel overwhelming. And two, I journal. I check in with myself before I start my day and again at the end of the day, reflecting on how that made me feel. And this is my way of anchoring myself, remembering the real reason I set out to do all of these things in the first place. That daily reflection helps me adjust my routines, systems, and action plans as I go, because that's what growth is all about. It's so important to me that my current self feels safe as I train her and expand her comfort zone. So the more I tune into my emotions, the safer my current self feels as she grows. And honestly, especially lately, the biggest takeaway that I have from all of my journaling session touches on the next core area. When you're performing at a high level, the last thing you need is to waste mental bandwidth on 100 tiny decisions, most of which don't even matter. We all experience decision fatigue as it is, but when you're operating at a high level, you reach that point even faster because your brain is already processing at full capacity. One unnecessary choice can literally slow everything down. And when your mental capacity is cluttered, your progress slows down with it. So, the best gift you can give yourself during this time is to design systems that simplify your choices and makes the right action your default mode. And what's amazing about this is that mental clarity is actually one of those renewable sources, but only if you protect it. Because every decision you simplify is mental energy you preserve for what truly matters. That's why now that we're done with the planning phase, the next chapter of this life experiment series is about turning these 4 core areas into systems that protects them. Because really, these systems is what's going to support the life pillars of this experiment. All that planning we did in episode 1, 2, and 3, they all set the stage for the experiment. But the real experiment happens in how well we live in those plans. So, if you like seeing things in action, stay tuned for the next few episodes. I'll see you there.